Gambia's Vice President Thursday launched the NAFA Quick project to support vulnerable families. Young people in Ethiopia have invented a new mobile app to address transport challenges. And the European Union suspended its support to the military and police in Mali after the ousting of the former president. This and more coming on The World Today. Hello there, this is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante and many thanks for coming along, and now the news in detail. First, we begin with a latest update from the Office of the President on the COVID-19 regulations. Now, public places of worship can now open 15 minutes before a congregational prayer is due and close immediately after prayers are completed, according to an amendment of the COVID-19 regulation released on Thursday by the Gambia government. Worshippers must wear face masks and observe social distancing alongside other preventive measures against the coronavirus. According to the new order, mosques are expected to set up committees to enforce these regulations. And that was the latest update from the presidency on the state of the COVID-19 regulations in the Gambia. Now, the Gambia government, in collaboration with the World Bank, executed a 5-year project dubbed the NAFA Quick Cars at a tune of $31 million, or dollars rather. The project is aimed at contributing to the mitigation of the social and economic impact of COVID-19 by providing temporal assistance to rural households in the selected districts. The CC has more details of that in this report.
The Vice President of the Gambia, Dr. Issa Toure, said the multi-million project is implemented by National Security Agency, NANA, Social Security Secretariat, the Department of Community Development, and the Department of Social Welfare. Madam Toure was speaking during the launching of the project on Thursday.
Therefore, the NAFA Quick initiative we are launching today is a subset of the NAFA program that has extended benefits beyond the extreme poor to almost all rural households in the selected districts. The NAFA Quick intends to contribute to the mitigation of the social and economic impact of COVID-19 on the population by providing immediate universal cash transfer of $1,500 per month, 2 transfers of $3,000 within a period of 4 months to about 83,000 households in 30 districts in West Coast Region, Lower River Region, Central River Region, Upper River Region, and North Bank Region, covering the lean period. Thereafter, the NAFA program will be implemented in the 20 poorest districts, targeting 15,606 extreme poor households selected using a proxy means test and community validation for a period of 18 months.
The country's number 2 said the NAFA program is different from others because its target is based on poverty status rather than categorical selection.
However, NAFA program differs from other programs in that the targeting is based on poverty status rather than categorical selection. The beneficiary unit is the household instead of the individual, and the social and behavioral change communication intervention will cover productive capital as well as human capital topics.
Toure stated that the program was restructured to support the poor who are undernourished by increasing social assistance coverage of the extreme poor.
A tailored social and behavioral change communication program will provide information to beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries to encourage investments in human capital, especially maternal and child health and nutrition, education, adolescence and family planning, parenting and gender-based violence, and productive capital, especially savings, entrepreneurship, and agriculture, to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty. The program will also make referrals to other services and productive opportunities in the neighborhood.
In the worrisome trajectory of COVID-19 pandemic and measures to prevent the spread of the virus in the Gambia, the project was restructured to contribute to the fight against the pandemic. The project, according to the officials, will help in improving households' health and reduce poverty level in the country. For iAfrica News, I am Daisy Sise.
The Gambia government and the World Bank, of course, they are to support vulnerable families in the country amid the impact of COVID-19. And from that report, next to Nigeria, because the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and a drop in oil prices has further affected Nigeria's economy, as the country faces a forex currency liquidity shortage for the first time in 4 years. The country's central bank held an evaluation process to mitigate the pressure on local currency and the naira. Now, experts say the situation may remain the same for the next 18 months if the global oil market did not change. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The last time Nigeria experienced the current forex liquidity shortage was in 2016, when the country slipped into recession. With another recession looming, the problem has resurfaced. And of course, it's not uniquely different from the last time. A fall in oil price, the country's main source of forex earnings, and a drop in remittances flow as a result of global disruptions from the COVID-19 pandemic have both combined to hurt the country's forex revenue. Even foreign investments too have been greatly impacted.
The focus in Nigeria, unfortunately, has been with the portfolio investors. And they come in and out, and when the conditions are good, they're in. When the conditions are bad, they're out. But FDI is more calculated, is more focused on the long-term economic growth and development. And clearly, Nigeria is probably doing under $2 billion a year in FDIs.
Nigeria's capital market has been badly hit as a result of the situation, as foreign portfolio investors bid for the gates, seeking alternative markets.
For most of the foreign investors bought the FMDQ OTC features contract, FX features contract rather, and it's a Naira non-deliverable forward that they get Naira and they still have to source for their dollars. So what we've been seeing now is that for most of the foreign investors, despite the assurances from the CBN, for most of them have not been able to repatriate their proceeds.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has so far carried out 2 rounds of devaluation as part of its strategy to ease the pressure on the local currency and bring about a single exchange rate for the country. It also added some new items on its list of items banned from accessing forex through the official market. Even banks too have had to ration the sale of forex and review spending limits of customers. But the scarcity still persists, and some analysts say the situation could go on for the next 18 months if oil prices continue to remain low.
So at the point when oil prices are over $100 a barrel, then you should see the Naira appreciate against the dollar. And at a time when oil prices are low, you should see the Naira devalued. But basically, because you have a static exchange rate regime, we've suffered devaluation and we're not seeing that revaluation.
We need to ensure that our foreign exchange policy incentivizes investment, allows or encourages inflow of foreign capital and foreign direct investment. We need to remove the current level of uncertainty around a lot of policy issues.
The National Bureau of Statistics here has just released the GDP figures of the country for the second quarter. Not surprisingly, the economy contracted by 6%, even though oil continues to account for around 9% of the entire GDP. Fact is, if prices do not go up, the entire economy will continue to feel the shock. And of course, the forex challenge will continue to bite harder.
And from the report there in Nigeria, we come back home because the opposition United Democratic Party on Thursday launched its food distribution initiative at Old Joshua. The donated food items were distributed to people severely affected by the pandemic. Ibrahim John reports.
The United Democratic Party distributed at least 1,700 bags of rice and 100 bags of sugar among the residents of Kanifing and West Coast region. The donation was done under the UDP Buntung initiative. Usainu Dabo, the UDP Secretary General, revealed that the gesture is apolitical, saying the funds were generated from Gambians in both home and abroad.
A gentleman in the United States called Sidiki Jame, Bubakar Sidiki Jame, he established a GoFundMe account, and that night, before midnight, a sum of $2,500 was raised. And by the end of the third day, $5,000 had been raised. There are several people who have contributed to this effort.
The former vice president stated that there is a difference in his actions as a political leader and as an ordinary Gambian. He made these remarks to dispel critics that may associate the initiative to politics.
Well, I only hope that the Gambians and all other persons will be sensible enough to know that there is a distinction between my activities as a political leader and distinction and as well as my activities as an individual as well as a professional. When I launched this initiative, I said that it was completely apolitical. It has no political undertone, and that it's going to be administered in a manner that will benefit the entire nation. If anyone if anyone is skeptical or people who cannot think straight, believe that there are some politics in it, well, very well, let them think so. But I know that there is no politics, because I could have, if I wanted, I could have said, look, I'm launching this on behalf of UDP.
The donated items were handed over to the CEOs of the two councils. They are expected to distribute the items to the people greatly affected by the pandemic. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Ibrahim John.
The United Democratic Party there launches its food distribution initiative earlier on launched by the party leader Hussein Davo. Now, from that report, we move on because a fire outbreak at the Hamza military barracks in Banjul has destroyed furniture and personal belongings of soldiers who are residents at the camp, but no one has died in the incident. The cause of the fire has yet to be known, according to Abdulaziz Sar, a soldier at Hamza barracks who lost all his belongings to the fire. Sar said he was informed by neighbors about the fire and that he and his colleagues tried to extinguish the fire before the fire service arrived. This is the first time a fire incident is reported at the barracks, but its causes has yet to be established. And from that unfortunate development there at Hamza Barrack, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV. And now to the rest of the stories. Now to the latest COVID-19 update in the Gambia, because the country recorded 0 deaths of COVID-19 for the second time in a week since the country began seeing a rise in fatalities in July and August. Last week, up to 14 COVID-19 deaths were reported over 2 days. DCC has more of that in this report.
Recently, the country has witnessed an increase in the number of COVID-19 fatalities since the spike in cases began. But with no fatalities on Thursday, the total number of deaths from the coronavirus remained at 93, according to the latest situation report released by the Ministry of Health on August 27. The country has also recorded 35 new cases, taking the total number of COVID-19 cases to 2,743. Those who newly tested positive are between the ages of 3 and 94 years. With 27 new recoveries, the total number of people who have recovered from the virus is now 638, according to the 128 National Situation Report. Whereas 17 people were newly taken into quarantine, 278 new discharges were made. The Gambia currently has 31 people in quarantine, 2,012 active cases, 230 probable cases, and a crude case fatality ratio of 3.4%. The Ministry of Health said the bulk of the active cases are asymptomatic and are self-isolating at home, monitored by volunteer doctors. For iAfrican News, I am Daisy Sise.
And from the report there by Ndayisi on the latest COVID-19 situation in the Gambia, next we head to Mali, because following the recent military coup in the country, the European Union said it is suspending its mission in the country. The EU bloc observes that their support is designed for legitimate national authorities. Fatoumata Fati tells us more.
The European Union has suspended its training of the military and police in Mali after a coup that removed President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta from power last week, according to regional bloc officials. The two missions training Mali's police and army were part of efforts to stabilize the country's security problems and extend the state's authority. However, an EU official told Reuters news agency on Wednesday that these initiatives have been frozen. The official said that the suspension is a temporary one and that training will continue in Mali's neighbors Niger and Burkina Faso. This decision was made a day after the 88-member organization International de la Francophonie (OIF) suspended Mali's membership of the Francophonie group. However, the OIF said it will maintain any necessary cooperation that will help the civilian population and a move to transit to democracy. West African mediators and Mali's military junta, led by Colonel Assimi Goïta, were discussing possibilities of a transitional government which could allow the EU to eventually resume training in partnership with the United Nations in a country at the heart of the fight against armed groups in the Sahel region. This is to help Mali's army to regain control of the country after France drove out fighters in the north, but final decisions were not made at the discussion regarding Mali's transition. For iAfrica TV, Fatoumata Fati.
The EU there suspends its support to the Mali's military and police after the coup some weeks ago. Now finally to Ethiopia, because young Ethiopians and innovators are using technology to tackle transportation challenges in the country. Since the innovation of the new taxi hailing app, the group has confronted numerous challenges, including poor internet connection during business activities. But the innovators are not relenting in their efforts to support their people by creating alternative jobs for the youth. Well, let's have more details of that in this report.
The city of Addis Ababa, with a population of at least 4 million people, has a serious challenge with transportation. These young people want to fill this gap through their new taxi hailing app.
We developed our own application, so that gives us a unique competitive advantage over others, because whenever we want, we can update it, we can integrate it, we can scale it up. So mostly the others have rented or bought cheaper applications, so that gives us a strategic edge.
They are using fellow young people to grow their business in the so-called gig economy.
For our brand ambassadors and influencers, most of them are young. So that means not only you have to have a job, not only you have to have a full job, but also you can have, other jobs as a part-time job. You have whatever you do at your house, and then whenever you want to go out and make money, we're here. We're trying to reach out to them. So whenever they come, we're there.
There are about 8 taxi hailing apps in the market, but one dominates with over 15,000 drivers' subscriptions. One challenge the new taxi hailing apps have is that the dominant company in the market says its drivers cannot work for competitors. It has even threatened to fine them for doing so. And so many drivers are subscribing to other apps secretly. The survival of the taxi app business is highly dependent on internet connectivity, But analysts say low connectivity and internet shutdowns by the government threaten the survival of e-commerce and other digital businesses.
Big percentage of our population lives dispersed across the countryside, and they are unable to connect. They are not connected, which means we can't create prosperity for them. And for that to happen, we need to upgrade the infrastructure in terms of telecommunications and connectivity.
Innovators like these young people are now banking on the government's plan to liberalize the telecommunications sector to stabilize internet connectivity and enable them go the extra mile.
And that report there in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, finally brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on our website, onafrica.tv. Well, once again, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.